Welcome. You get the Horn Show, Tad and Jeff. We are without Tad tonight. Unfortunately, Tad's under the weather, making a recovery. So all hope's not lost, folks. He will be back. We should be back full steam next week, ready to talk about the Wildcard Weekend that was and the divisional round that is to come. But I want to jump on real quick since it is Wildcard Weekend in the NFL and just give my thoughts, my opinions a little bit about this. What a Week 18, man. I'm telling you, there was a lot of win and get ins. There were a lot of wins and need some helps. Some teams hoping for ties. And I think it turned out pretty well. So, fun weekend. Where do we begin? I think where I want to begin is with the Colts and the Texans. Colts had a chance to win the division, and they were not able to pull it off. Gardner Minshew with a just an errant throw. Goodness gracious, wide open. Had a chance to take it. Just couldn't make that completion. But what about the Houston Texans, man? You'd have told me at the beginning of the year that the Houston Texans were going to be AFC South champs. I don't think you could have convinced me of that. But here we are. And look, this is all boils down to one man, two men. Mr. D'Amico Ryans and what he's done with this team is nothing short of amazing. I think both Tad and I agreed when he was hired that this was a phenomenal hire. Just the way he is, as a former player, as a really good former player at that, the way he took the Niners defense and turned them around. And then he comes into Houston, a 2-win team last year, and gets them to 10-7 on the year. The other player, though, of course, is CJ Stroud. Man, I think the Colts have to just be sick about not drafting this kid. Look, I have my doubts about CJ Stroud. My doubts were simply only because he was an Ohio State quarterback. Probably not fair to him, and he's proven everyone else that doubted him wrong. This kid, I don't know. I've said this to other people, but in the fourth quarter, with the game on the line, needing a score, I am not sure right now there's another quarterback in the NFL that I would want to have the ball than CJ Stroud, and he's a rookie. Some of you out there are probably going to be screaming and saying, what about this quarterback or that quarterback? But for my money, I don't know. Game on the line. I need a drive. I need a score that I would want anyone else to have the ball in their hands. He played near perfect on Saturday. 20 of 26, 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gets the ball to Nico Collins 9 times. So Nico ends up with 195 yards and a touchdown. Just absolutely amazing what this kid has done. Probably unanimous MVP. I think there'll probably some people out there that would throw a vote or two towards Nakua's way. Listen, Puka played absolutely awesome this year. Best rookie season for wide receiver in NFL history. You got to give me CJ Stroud over him at this point. I do want to talk just a moment about the AFC North. Every single team, this is the first time this has happened in the modern era of football, that all the teams finished with a winning record. Now, granted, the Bengals had to win this game in order to be able to get to 9-8. They played a Cleveland team that had benched everyone, but man, it's impressive. It is impressive. We said at the beginning of the year, at least I know I did, that I thought 3 teams were going to come out of the North. I had the Browns looking in, and the Bengals making it in. Of course, Joe Burrow getting hurt doesn't help that situation, but just very impressive. Next game I want to go to is the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars. I do not understand how a team can start 8-3 and missed the playoffs. You started 8-3 and you could not make the playoffs. Tell me Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Tell me, this player, that player got hurt. Someone has to pay for this, right? Like, this can't go unnoticed. This can't be something that the owner, Shad Khan, is just going to take, is he? Maybe he will. Maybe you can say Trevor Lawrence, his injury is what hurt them. But listen, we talked about this a lot. Trevor Lawrence gets hurt every single year. You have C.J. Beathard as your backup quarterback. And we know C.J. is not. Listen, C.J. is one of the best top 100 quarterbacks in the world. So not taking anything away from him. But he's not an NFL level starter. And really, he's not even an NFL backup, to be honest. How you do not have something else better in place than C.J. Beathard, knowing your star quarterback gets injured based on the way he plays, and clearly he was affected. Again, though, the score's 28-20, and you have him throwing the ball 43 times. Meanwhile, you're giving Travis Etienne 16 carries. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you can do there. I don't know if Doug Peterson is the issue. I don't know if it's the GM that's the issue. Honestly, maybe it's Trevor Lawrence. We've talked about this. I've been an adamant supporter that he's not a franchise quarterback, that he's not the guy. He still has plenty of time to prove me wrong. I don't think they're going to move off of him. I think they're going to give him another year to prove it. But he's just not that clutch of a quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes from there. I don't know. Something to me has to happen. If you start 8-3, you literally just had to win 2 of those final, 6 games? You could have gone 2-6 and you still would have made the playoffs. And that is crazy to me that you let this slip away and you let Houston sneak in there as an upstart and upset you and take the division. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So far, no news has come down. Maybe nothing will come down on it. I don't know. But man, what a disappointing end to the season. So those are the 2 I think I wanted to touch on. Steelers beat the Ravens. Steelers are now 7-1 against the Ravens since 2020. Todd will probably edit this out so he doesn't have to hear about it. But Ravens have got to figure out how to beat the Steelers. Steelers finish the year 5-1 in the division. Had it not just been for 2 just awful games back-to-back against Arizona and the Patriots, this team is probably setting, in the 4th seed or the 5th seed, instead of now they're the 7th. Listen, until proven otherwise, Mason Rudolph should be the starter. I was calling for his benching last week against the Ravens. To me, he just looks like a statue back there. But he finds a way. He manages to throw a deep pass or a nice slant to Deontay Johnson, who takes it to the house. That ends up being the difference in the game. So we'll see where we go from here. So Wildcard Weekend, we've got the Browns versus the Texans, 4:30 NBC on a Saturday. This might be the game of the week, really. This is, I don't really know what to predict here. If we get playoff Flacco, Browns are going to be a very tough out. The Texans are riding high. It's in Houston, so they get a home playoff game. That crowd is going to be absolutely nuts. I'm so curious to see how this game unfolds. I think the Browns probably pull it out. I think that defense of the Browns is just too good. But I think this is going to be a very close, very, very close game. Cleveland comes in as a 2.5-point favorite. So we'll see how it goes. We've got an 8:00 game on Peacock. This is crazy to me that the NFL is putting a game exclusively on Peacock. It's a bold move, Cotton. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a playoff game for the NFL should be on any type of, pay-per-view type of a place. Now, I don't know. Maybe Peacock's going to run a free trial where you can, get in, and maybe people will just buy it and just to watch the game. But we got the Chiefs and the Dolphins, which is insane that would be the game that you would pick to put on Peacock. Maybe it's because you were hoping to get the most interest and you would get the most people trying to sign up for Peacock. We'll see, man. I don't know. I don't like it, but what are you going to do? We got the 11-6 Dolphins versus the 11-6 Chiefs. Chiefs are a 4-point favorite in this game. Look, Dolphins are reeling. They had this division locked up, and they let it slip away. I believe there's something like one win against 500 teams this year. Meanwhile, the Patriots have two wins versus 500 teams. Chiefs, though, they're 11-6, but they may be the worst 11-6 we've seen the Chiefs in a long, long time. Do they have enough to turn it around? We know that that Dolphins offense can be scary. We know that if everyone is healthy, that they can put up points and put up points fast. So we'll see if the Chiefs can hang with the Dolphins. I'll never, ever count out Patrick Mahomes. In fact, I had the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl this year. That was my preseason pick. So we'll see how they turn it around. We got the Sunday game, 1 p.m. on CBS. My Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Buffalo Bills. Bills are a 10-point favorite at this point. Probably pretty accurate. I don't know that there's a hotter team going in to the playoffs than the Buffalo Bills. I fully expect the Bills to win this game. However, Josh Allen is prone to turnovers, and the Steelers capitalize on turnovers. Steelers led the league in takeaways this year. You can flip the field pretty quickly if you can get these turnovers early. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think back to the Browns and Steelers game when the Steelers first play of the game, Marquise Pouncey snaps the ball over Ben's head. They pick it up and score. So we could see something like that. I fully expect, though, the Bills to pull this one out. The Packers and the Cowboys square off on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on Fox. Dallas comes in as a 7.5-point favorite. I think that's probably pretty accurate. Listen, I love what the Packers are doing. I love what they're becoming. They're a young team. Full of potential stars. I still think they've got some work to do there. I think Jordan Love hushed many of his critics this year. Played excellent. Really, he played about as good as any quarterback in the league could possibly do his first year starting. So I just think the Cowboys, just too much offense, great defense. So we will see, where this one leads us to and where this one takes us. But I expect the Cowboys to pull this one out. Man, oh man, oh man. Rams versus the Lions, 8 p.m. on NBC. Lions are a 3-point favorite. Could you ask for a better wild card round game than this one? Matthew Stafford comes home to Detroit to take on the Lions, which Lions are 12-5 this year. Rams finished the year 10-7. Listen, the Rams played well above, I think, what anyone would expect them to have played. And that offense is clicking. Matthew Stafford. I think I saw something today. Calvin Johnson, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp. So Calvin Johnson owns the NFL record for receiving yards. Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown for receptions, yards, and touchdowns. I believe that was not last year, year before. And now Puka Nacua broke every single rookie record. And the common denominator there with all of them is Matthew Stafford. So underrated as a quarterback, so underrated as a leader. He's rolling. He's healthy. I'm this. I said Browns and Texans might be the game of the week or the most fun game to watch. This one's going to be awesome. I think the Lions have enough to pull this one out, but do I trust Sean McVay or do I trust Campbell? And I'm going to trust McVay, but the Lions just might have too much for the Rams. So I'm going to go chalk on this one. I think the Lions pull this one out. And then Monday night, 8:15 on ESPN, ABC, is the Eagles on the road facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Eagles, I said the Bills were coming in as the hottest team in the NFL. I don't know that there's any team entering the playoffs in a worse slide than the Philadelphia Eagles. They're now 1-5 in their last 6. Just a lot of turmoil there. There's some talks. Is Sirianni going to come back? That could depend on how well this game goes. This is a team that you did not expect this kind of play from them. And I know a lot of Eagles fans they're just waiting for the season to end because it's just pure misery. Any other team would probably take an 11-6 record. But the fact that they're 11-6 after starting, I don't even know what they started. Was it 8-1, something ridiculous like that? And to see them slide as much as they've slid is just, it's mind-boggling, really. I don't know what it is. Now, they lost their coordinators, and this is what happens when you're a great team, you're a Super Bowl team, you're going to lose your coordinators. And they just didn't replace them as well as I guess they probably thought they would. Matt Patricia now calling the plays. This team's a mess. So could there be a chance that the Bucs come in here and upset them? Listen, Baker is playing phenomenal. Fantastic year. I believe 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. He's just kind of got that factor, the it factor, I guess you would say. When it comes to quarterbacks, he just no moment's too big for him. Does he always play well? No, of course not. But man, this is going to be a good battle. I think the Eagles pull this one out. We'll see. I think I'll go with the Eagles. Everything else, though, I think it's probably going to run chalk. I think the Browns beat the Texans. I think the Chiefs beat the Dolphins. I think the Bills beat the Steelers. The Cowboys beat the Packers. The Lions beat the Rams. You know what? I'll probably take the Eagles over the Bucs at this point. So I guess really I don't have any upsets, and we all know full well there's going to be upsets. My hope obviously would be that the Steelers, after playing so well these last few weeks, can continue on. But we'll see. It's going to be a fun wildcard weekend for sure. I don't know that there's any clear cut outside of the Bills. I don't know that there's any clear cut winners on this. Listen, the Packers and the Cowboys know each other very well. The Lions and the Rams, Stafford knows the Lions well. It's going to be fun, man. We'll see where it leads us to. We'll see where it goes. Now we're going to get into just a little bit of the coaching carousel. There's now six teams that are now looking for head coaches after Mike Vrabel was let go today, which, by the way, is kind of surprising. I think in some aspects, I'm not. I might make more sense than what we're believing. So, we think probably we saw the last game in a Titans uniform for Derrick Henry. So this could be a team that may be looking to retool. I won't necessarily say rebuild. Well, they might really have to rebuild because they really weren't that good this year. So we'll see how Will Levis plays next year. You assume he's the de facto starter at this point. Health has got to be an issue there too. You have to look and say, okay, is this guy doing everything he can to protect himself? So we'll see. I think that is going to be. I think it's going to be a good opening. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in the Titans. I'm a little surprised the Titans let Vrabel go. He's taken them to the playoffs. Not much is expected from Tennessee. I mean, it's not a team that has a rich history or anything like that. And the way he's led this team, I don't know that there's any bad words ever said about him. And maybe there'll be stuff that comes out now that he's gone. But a little surprising. It's kind of always we can let this guy go, but do we have someone better that can come in? And maybe they do. Maybe they have some some coaches on their radar. Maybe they just thought it was time for a move. I read today that, they didn't want to get into a long drawn out process of trying to trade him, to another team. And they thought it was best just to let him go at this point. Could have been a mutual thing. He was ready to try something new and move on. I don't think he's going to be unemployed long, though. I think it's going to be a situation where someone's going to take him. And I don't think he's going to not be a head coach this year. Maybe he takes a coordinator position for 1 year just to kind of build his stock back up. But I honestly don't know that his stock is really that far down. So we'll see. So at this point, we've got 6 openings. Of course, the Carolina Panthers had fired Frank Reich. I don't know. Does any team or any coach want to go there? I'm sure. But does the cream of the crop want to go there? Does it Ben Johnson see that as a great opening? And right now, I don't know. I don't know Dave Tepper, obviously. I don't know him on a level. I do know there's not a lot of great things said about him. I'm sure there are people out there that love Dave Tepper that thinks he's a fantastic owner, but he's quick with the firing finger. He doesn't have any issues letting someone go. Frank Reich's there for a year. He goes 1-10. Again, though, I don't know what you really expected of him or what you thought he was going to be able to do. I don't know that Bryce Young showed a ton of progress this year. And the last few games, I guess he didn't play awful. But now, they don't have their pick. They traded that away to get Bryce Young. So, this is a team that's really in flux, and it's going to take probably a 3 to 5 year rebuild to really get this team back to what it was, and that's getting it back to what it was when Cam was there, really, if we're being honest. So we'll see. I think out of all the teams that are available, this is probably the last place that a person would want to choose to go to. Raiders, of course, fired Josh McDaniel on Halloween after they started 3-5. Antonio Pierce went 5-4 with the team. They finished 8-9 overall. Listen, unless the Raiders could get someone like a Jim Harbaugh, I think the memories of Rich Bisaccia and the way he led that team to the playoffs last year, and the way he unceremoniously got let go after the whole Gruden debacle, I think that's going to stick in the minds of the Raiders. So I really could see Pierce coming back, and honestly, I think he probably deserves to come back. He's got a lot of respect in the locker room. Players love him. Coaches seem to love him. So I think he probably deserves a chance to come back. Will he? I don't know. I would hedge my bets on him probably coming back. But we'll certainly see. And then you have the Chargers. Man, I always want to put this team somewhere where they don't belong. They fire Brandon Staley after a 5-9 start. Tad and I were both adamant that they probably shouldn't have brought him back this year, but they do. They let him go. Justin Herbert goes out with a fractured index finger on his throwing hand. Chargers ranked 28th in scoring and total defense. I don't know. Anytime you have a franchise quarterback, and we think that Justin Herbert is a franchise quarterback, anytime you have that, that's got to be appealing to a lot of coaches. So I think this is probably going to be one of the more desired places. Again, we hear Harbaugh thrown around there. We hear Bill Belichick's name thrown out there a lot. Would he want to go to San Diego? I don't think so. But we'll definitely see. And then the Atlanta Falcons fire Arthur Smith. 7-10 in each of his seasons there. He was there 3 years, finished at 7-10. Listen, they're a quarterback away from being a good team. This team, again, was in the thick of it to the very end. They had a outside chance of winning that division this year. And of course, they can't do it. But, it's a quarterback-driven league. They have the players, and they just don't have the quarterback. They've been through now Matt Ryan, from Matt Ryan to Marcus Mariota to Desmond Ritter to Taylor Heineke back to Desmond Ritter, and it just didn't work out. They are going to have, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Falcons will finish somewhere in the top. I'm trying to pull it up now, but I believe they have a top 5 pick this year. Could one of the quarterbacks fall there? I'm sorry. They have the 8th pick this year. Could one of the quarterbacks fall? Man, I don't think so. I don't know. This might be a secondary market type thing. Maybe a Jaden Daniels falls there. Maybe after last night's game, Michael Penix falls a little bit. I don't think he will, although health is a major, major factor there. But I think they may have to go on the free agent market to look. Could someone like a Kirk Cousins come in and be a 3-year stopgap? Yeah, very possible. I mean, I think Kirk Cousins on that team with those players, Drake London, you've got Kyle Pitts, which, by the way, what are you doing with Kyle Pitts? How is Kyle Pitts not more involved in this offense than what he is? Is he a bust? I don't think so. I believe he has all the tools to be just a star tight end in this league. I've never seen a star player like this so underutilized. It's embarrassing. And of course, you got Bijan Robinson. So a lot of things to like there for the Falcons. So I think that's going to be a very interesting place, and we'll see. Again, we got to figure the quarterback situation out. You pick in the top 10, but man, I just don't know that the quarterbacks that you would think would be franchise turning quarterbacks are going to be there when you pick. So maybe they draft up to try and take the guy. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of maneuvering and shifting around, come draft night. Maybe they have an opportunity to do that, but we'll see what they do. And then, of course, Washington, long overdue, fire Ron Rivera. His team goes 4-13 this year. I'm not sure there's any more of a disappointing team this year than the Washington Commanders. There was a lot of hope going into the season, thinking that, hey, this team might be a 7-8 win team. Everything falls the right way. They can go 9-8, sneak into the playoffs, and it just went downhill, and it went downhill very fast. Start 2-0 and finish 4-13. This, to me, listen, it's Washington, and I don't. For the longest time under Dan Snyder, this was never anyone's first option to go to. But I think this position might be the most desirable. They set with the number 2 pick in the draft. A lot of good players on offense. Now, listen, they got to rebuild that defense. The defense that they've spent so much money on, at least on the defensive line. Now you have to replace Chase Young, Montez Sweat. You're out there now looking for the next Chase Young and Montez Sweat. How they couldn't have kept one of the two. I don't know. Hopefully they hit on these draft picks that they're going to get for them. They're going to be, at least the Sweat one's going to be, decently high. So hopefully they can hit on that one. But there's a lot to like on that offensive side. And then with the number 2 pick, you think that's going to be a Drake May or that's going to be a Caleb Williams. And again, depending on what the Bears do, they may have their pick. There may be a team that's going to come up and try to take that pick away from them and that try to jump in there where the Bears are at. I don't think the Bears are going to draft either one of those. I think Justin Fields played well enough at the end of the year, at least to make that decision very hard. I feel like Justin Fields does that every single year where he, looks awful. And in the last, 8 to 10 games, he looks like a competent quarterback or a potential Pro Bowl type quarterback. He's got to do it 17 games, of course. And you wonder, the way he runs, the way he plays, can he stay healthy for 17 games? I don't know. But Bears are in a great position this year with their pick. So, either they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. or they're going to trade out of that. So it depends on what you feel of a wide receiver going 1-1. If you think he's going to be, the next, Randy Moss, AJ Brown, whatever you want to say, that number one type receiver, and that's what you need. You do have more there, and just having both of those players on the same team, that could be a very dangerous offense. The Bears have never been about passing the ball, but this would make them think long and hard about that, of course. So, but I think I think that Washington pick, whether it be Drake May or Caleb Williams, listen, I think that's a great spot to be in. Now I think we do have some potential openings as of now anyways. We have not heard anything on Bill Belichick. So we'll see how that pans out. They've had a couple of meetings this week that we're aware of. Does Bill want to be there? Does Robert Kraft want to continue on with him? Listen, man, my opinion has changed on this so many times. Part of me says, yeah, it's time to go. Part of me is like, man, Bill has earned the right to be there for as long as he wants. This man has taken this team to 9 Super Bowls, and you can say, hey, this was Brady. But it wasn't all Tom Brady. But does he need to step away from the GM side of it? And I think that's yes. Does he want to do that? I don't know. I'm going to say he probably doesn't, and that might be the ongoing back and forth between him and Kraft right now. I always said I think there would be 10 teams lining up for Bill Belichick to be their coach. I don't think there'd be one team, unless they were desperate, say Carolina, that would want him to be head coach, GM, player personnel, all of that stuff. I think they would just want him to concentrate on coaching. Look, Vrabel gets let go. He's the obvious name for replacement for Belichick. I think they have someone in house that a lot of people probably would like, and that's Gerard Mayo. This offense for the Patriots was just absolutely putrid. But the defense for the Patriots played pretty well. They were ranked number 7 in defensive yards on average. Gave up 38 touchdowns this year. The defense wasn't the issue. It was the offense. The offense ranked pretty much near bottom in just about every statistical category. They were 30th in offensive yards. They were 26th, I want to say. 28th. In passing offense. Their rushing offense was sitting at 26th. Scoring offense, they were all the way down to. Geez, where did the Patriots finish in that category? I don't know. They're not even on my list here. I'm sure they're on here somewhere, but either way, they weren't good. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that obviously the Patriots didn't score a ton of points. But I'm sorry, they were 31st in points scored. Panthers were tied for them. We're tied. 13.9 points per game was this offense. Just absolutely putrid. And that includes putting up, I don't know, whatever they put up on the Steelers, 30. So those obviously helped skew those numbers higher. I don't know. I've gone back and forth on this. I think Bill probably has an opportunity to come back. They have a top 4 pick this year, which could possibly be one of those quarterbacks that we talked about. So, depending on how everything falls, they could potentially get their franchise quarterback. I wouldn't be ready to give up on Mac Jones at this point, but I'd be ready to give up on Mac Jones in New England. I think the damage has been done there, and I don't think you can undo that. I could be proven wrong. As many times as that man got benched this year, I just don't see a way that he's going to recover from that with New England. Listen, he played well his first year, his rookie year, was a Pro Bowler at that, and has put up, honestly, similar numbers to Trevor Lawrence. If you go back and look at the numbers, his numbers are very, very comparable to Trevor Lawrence. That's why I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a franchise quarterback, because I don't think Mac Jones is one. And if they put up similar numbers, then I think that probably should tell you about all you need to know. However, I think Mac could go elsewhere, and I think he could succeed. Will he ever be, a top 15 quarterback in the league? We'll see. I don't know. I would say the jury is out on that. I would have said at the end of his rookie year, absolutely. Now I'm not so sure, but could he be in that Ryan Tannehill vein, where he hangs around that top 12 to 18 range, for a long period of time? Absolutely. I think he could. And the right team around him, he probably could do very well. But I think if the Patriots get a star quarterback and they can get a franchise type quarterback, that this team could be right back where it's at. Listen, the East is not the juggernaut that we thought it was. We thought it was just all Bills and Dolphins, and that's not the case. This could be a very, very quick turnaround for them if they get the right quarterback in place. And who better to lead that than Bill Belichick? I don't know. You can make the argument, of course, that Vrabel could do a better job, or Gerard Mayo could do a better job. But I would want to stick with the guy who has been there. I would want him to be able to see his way out of this. I mean, he's had, 19, 20 winning seasons in a row outside of the past 2 years. So, I mean, do you not give him a chance to try and rebuild this? You could say age is a factor, and definitely is. But if you're trying, if there's anyone that would deserve to get himself out of this hole, I think it would be Bill Belichick. I think they would owe that to him. And you're not owed anything in the NFL. You're not owed anything in life, and the NFL especially. It's what have you done for me lately league. But a guy that can take a team to 9 Super Bowls and win 6 of those should probably have the right to go out his way. And we'll see if that happens. Again, I take away the GM role from him. As I said on this show many times, he has not hit on a draft pick in very, very many years. I take that away from him. Bring in someone else. Let them do that. Let Bill have a say, of course. But I think every coach has some sort of say, in the players that they want. I saw today when Leslie was talking to Sean McVay about Puka Nacua before they drafted him. And it was, McVay was standing on the table for this guy. And, Leslie was like, all right, let's draft him. Let's take him. And look what he's turned into. So, yeah, of course, you would give him some sort of say. I would just want someone else to be in charge of all that. I would want someone else to say, yeah, I think we're going to go this route. I want you to build this guy up. I want you to work around this guy. And I don't know. After all these years, I don't know if that's something that Bill would want to do or not want to do. But we'll see. If he gets let go or they have a mutual parting of ways, again, I think all these teams that we mentioned, including Washington, would probably welcome him and would probably minimally give him, an interview or two. He's 74 at this point. So how many more great years does he have? You probably want to be looking at a team that's ready to win now. I think of the Falcons based on, that division. I think of the Chargers based on having the franchise quarterback. Those other teams we mentioned, I think they're probably a little bit longer of a rebuild. And we heard Josh Harris this week talking about, not wanting to just make a quick decision, or try to build a team fast. They're in it for the long haul. They want to, build it the proper way, take some time with it. He owns the Sixers, and that whole trust the process thing took 5 years. Many fans were discouraged. And now look, Sixers haven't won anything, but they're perennial 50-game winners, which I 25 teams in the NBA and their fans would take that every single year. The chance to be there every single year. That's why I don't think he is going to make a quick thing. We hear Kirk Cousins' name kind of mentioned with the Commanders as a comeback. I don't think they're looking to do that. I think they want to draft a quarterback, and I think they want to take their time with them. So, for that reason, I don't know that Bill would want to hang around, till he's 80 to be able to see this team succeed. So I would look more towards Atlanta, want to look more towards San Diego, where, you have the pieces in place or more of the pieces in place to be able to make a run. Now, look, Chargers are in some cap hell coming up. We know that, but they're not going to, that we know of, they're not going to try and get rid of Justin Herbert anytime soon. So as long as you have that star quarterback, you're always going to be in it. So we'll see what happens. I've gone way too long here tonight. I appreciate you all listening. Check us out on all of our platforms, Spotify, Apple Play, whatever. I don't even know what that is. Apple Podcasts, our YouTube. Leave us a like, leave us a follow, leave us a comment. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. We're also trying to be more active on X. We're trying to be, active on TikTok some. And then, of course, Instagram. So check us out. Again, we'll be back next week. We should be fully healthy, ready to go. Ready to discuss this wildcard round and the divisional games to follow. So, as always, thank you so much for your, for your follows. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We truly appreciate it. We're trying to grow every single day, every single week. We try to get better. Let us know what you think, what we can do better, what you like, what you don't like. And we will catch you all next week. Have a great night, everyone.